Hey friends, let's do another daily UFO drone update. This might actually end up being my final UFO drone update because I have a at least preliminary conclusion of what is going on with these drones and UFOs. Okay, so there's this paper that came out from the Air Force from 1965 that I'll put it on my Twitter, on my X, so you can see it in full and read it. But it basically describes a 3-night period where at this Minuteman, nuclear missile silo in Wyoming. If you didn't know, most of our nuclear weapons are kept in the Midwest of our country. That way, if Russia or somebody was to attack them, there would be the least amount of casualties. Just that's why we did it. So we have a crap ton of nuclear weapons in the Midwest, Wyoming, that area of the country. So they can see for miles and miles and miles. This is back in 1965. The sky, there's no drones or satellites or anything like that, or not very many. And they can see forever, clear nights. And for 3 nights in a row, they had all of these UFOs buzzing to the point where they actually did this comprehensive report on it. And there was 150 something sightings by 130 something personnel. These are trained people that their entire job is to monitor from these lookout towers and make sure nothing's messing with the nuclear weapons, right? So these guys are professionals at what they do. And they reported seeing practically the exact same thing that we're seeing in our skies now. This is 60 years ago, okay? So they report seeing sometimes just a ball of light. Sometimes there's flashing lights on it. They said sometimes it looks like there's a tail, like from an airplane. Sometimes not. Sometimes one would split into two. Sometimes they would shoot across the sky and then stop on a dime and hover there. They said sometimes they would hover for hours and hours. And here's where it gets really crazy. So this current drone situation, almost all of the sightings happen at basically when the sun goes down, and they go until about midnight, right? So about 5 or 6 o'clock till about midnight. That's when the vast majority of the sightings are. Hardly ever during the day and hardly ever overnight, right? They want to be seen, okay? That's the big thing. So they even say in this report from 1965, the same thing happened. At dusk until about midnight is when the vast majority of these sightings happen. So these things want to be seen. They want to appear like airplanes and stuff, but they also want to appear mysterious. They're sending a message, okay? So this was happening around our Air Force bases and nuclear bases. This has happened for a very long time. There's been several books written on these mysterious objects around our nuclear weapons. So this is not new. And these things that we're seeing right now in the sky are not drones, okay? There are some drones up there, of course. We're putting our drones up there to take a look at these things. And most of the accounts are when we get our drones near them, our drones either fall out of the sky or they completely short circuit. So there's something mysterious happening here. So then it leads us to, okay, who's doing this and why, all right? So these things started picking up in this current flap right after the election. And from the best of what I can tell from assembling all the data is that as soon as Trump was elected next president, the Biden administration was going to do something stupid to try to sabotage basically his transition, okay? And the reports are suggesting that we were going to launch some sort of preemptive strikes. We're trying to bait Russia into doing something stupid so we could retaliate. If you think about it, these drone things first happened over all of the Air Force bases in the UK, and several of those bases have been reported to have U.S. nuclear weapons at them, okay? So they started there, basically kiboshing that, saying, hey, don't play with these toys. Then they moved over to America, and now they've been seen at Langley, at Wright-Patterson, all over New Jersey, where we have the Picatinny Arsenal. They've been seen over the Capitol. They've been seen all over the place. They're sending a very clear message, not to us as the regular Joes, but to our government and our military that, hey, big boys are here. Put down your weapons. Don't do anything stupid. So I look at it this way. Whenever we try to trace back who's doing this, okay, you got to look at that we are in what I call the simulator, okay? We're in a virtual reality-like simulator for consciousness development. And just like when you play a virtual reality game, when you're totally locked in that VR game, you lose focus and awareness of everything else out there. And say somebody that is playing a VR game and they're in it. They've been playing it for 8 hours straight. They are totally immersed. And you needed to get their attention. You couldn't just go and tap them on the shoulder. They would freak out. They'd be like, ah! It would scare them, right? So if you had the ability, this is what you would do. You would put a message in the game itself, right? In the virtual reality game, you would get their attention that way and say, hey, wake up, I need your attention out here. And then they would see that and they would say, oh, okay, and take the headset off, right? Well, when I see what's happening here, I think about it as say you had two cats fighting and you use one of those laser pointers and you do the little laser pointer to distract them. And then they start chasing the laser pointer and they stop fighting each other. That's what I see happening here. I think that somebody outside of this simulator, right, a higher dimensional being, is watching, guiding, monitoring, it's a free will simulator, so we can kind of do whatever we want in here to a certain extent. So kind of like if you had a couple cats fight, it's all good. But if you walked in, you heard the cats just screaming and freaking out, and you came in and they had their claws stuck in each other and they're like, you know, tearing each other to shreds. Even though you know cats fight, you would say, hey, 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 you get the little laser pointer out, you would distract them, they start chasing the dot and they stop fighting. That's what you would do. So cats have free will, they can run around my house and they can be cats, but once they start like hurting each other, I intervene. I think that's what's happening here. A higher dimensional, higher intelligent entity is intervening in us. I think that as soon as Trump got elected, the current administration was going to do something stupid to kibosh this whole thing, and these higher dimensional beings said no, and they started buzzing around and interacting and interfering and distracting and basically sending a message that, hey, you're not the alpha here, we are, you know. So y'all have free will in this simulator, but don't destroy the place, okay? And that's what I think is happening. When this happened back in 1965, it wasn't the first time, and that was around the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was during the Cold War. There was during the Vietnam War. There was a lot of crazy things going on at that time, and these things have been seen all through history, especially at nuclear bases and especially at Air Force bases. So there's something out there that just wants to continuously remind us that, hey, y'all have free will, but we're still in charge, okay? Don't destroy the place. That is what I really, really think is happening. And that's what everything points to. So these things we're seeing in the sky, they're not here to hurt us. They're not here to invade us. They're not here to abduct us. They're not here to do any of that stuff. They are here. It's the laser pointer to distract us. I think that people hate me for saying this, but I think that when Trump missed the pew pew, that was intervention as well, because that would have set us down a very terrible timeline. And then as soon as he got elected, that jumped us to another timeline. And then these entities had to intervene again because there was something about to happen, and they intervened, and now they're trying to guide us to this positive timeline. I think that when he avoided the pew pew, that got us off the Civil War timeline, and then this that's happening right now is getting us off the World War timeline. That's what I think. That's what I see. Let me know what you think and what you see. Have a beautiful day. Peace.